everyone, it's Crystal from Beautifully Broken and Crafts, Hauls, and More. I have a Christmas DIY for you guys that's focusing mainly on the buffalo check and red plaid. So let me know what you guys think of these once the video is done and which one is your favorite. Thanks so much. Catch you guys soon. Love you. First up, we're going to take these three Dollar Tree houses that look like shadow boxes, and I popped out the back of them and scraped off little of, bleh, excuse me, any of the little pieces of paper sticking out that would show once I glued this back on. I peeled off as much as the previous print as I could from that side, and then I just laid these down and trace them on the back of a piece of buffalo check scrapbook paper I had on hand from Walmart, and I did that with all three of the backs of these shadow boxes. And then I will use my Elmer's glue stick to glue them onto those backings, and then I will hot glue those backings back into the shadow boxes. Then I take three Dollar Tree ornaments I had on hand. One is one of those trees that look like it's just sticks, and it's white covered in glitter. I took one of the deer that's white covered in glitter, and then you will see me take a snowflake out of one of I think it was an 8-pack of snowflake ornaments I picked up from Dollar Tree, and I think I showed those in my last haul video. And I just glue one to the center of each of those. Now with that snowflake, I glued the silver string that was already attached to the peak of the house on the inside, so that way it could dangle. And then for the tree, I took a piece of jute twine string, whatever you guys want to call it, and tied it into just a simple shoelace bow and hot glued it to the top of the tree to cover the hole that was there from when it had a string on it to be hung as an ornament. And then I dress up the house with a little bit of greenery and a piece of holly berry from a Christmas pick I had from Dollar Tree. On the snowflake, I dressed that up with the same stuff and a tiny bow on the side, but I only used one sprig of greenery for that one. And then I will use 2 sprigs of greenery and a holly berry on the deer house as well. And there it is completed. It's like a little set. I think it turned out super cute. Next, I am taking this small vertical door hanger I got from the Crafter Square and Dollar Tree. I use my Waverly Antique Wax and a baby wipe just to give it a faux stain look, front, back, and sides, mainly because of my OCD. And then I set that aside to dry. I will take some wooden letters I have also from Dollar Tree to spell out the word joy, and I paint each letter in the white Waverly chalk paint and set those aside. And I want to say, nope. Then I take a white deer head ornament I have from the Dollar Tree as well, and it's all glittery also. And then I took a piece of that 15-foot Dollar Tree garland you can get and just cut out a piece big enough to make like a wreath around that deer head. Cut off the excess that was like too long in my opinion, and then used my paintbrush from when I had painted the word joy and just dry brushed over to make it look like it had some snow on that wreath I made. Then I took 2 strips of the buffalo check scrapbook paper I had used for the previous DIYs, and I just glued them to each end, just a strip on each end with my glue stick. And I take that wreath that I made and hot glue that down. And then I put the deer in the center of that and hot glue that down as well. Then I go and grab a different holly branch I had. I think this one's from Walmart. It was only like 98 cents for this pick. And I just picked off some of the holly berries I liked and glued them on that wreath. And then I will go over them with that paintbrush that has the white paint on it a little bit as well, just so they blend in with the wreath more. Then I take the word joy and I hot glue that onto the sign. And that is going to be that. That one was a quick one to do. And there it is completed. You can use it as a door hanger, or as a large ornament, or you can just set it up against something. For the next DIY, I took this frame I had from Dollar Tree. Because it's that shiny, plasticky material, I did have to use my sanding sponge from Dollar Tree to rough it up. Otherwise, paint wouldn't want to stick to it. I dusted it off, cleaned up my mess with my ladybug, and then I just did 2 or 3 coats of the white Waverly chalk paint to cover up that silver. And I also use one of the small snowmen that come in like an 8-pack of DIY wooden ornaments from Dollar Tree and paint it that white as well. Then I'm taking that same buffalo check scrapbook paper I had from Walmart, and I am going to use my glue stick to glue it to that insert that was in that frame originally. And I just sand down the sides to get any rough edges. And there's that snowman I painted white. Then I take my paint markers and I just paint his little top hat black. And I draw in his eyes, his eye, and his mouth, and his buttons. And then I will use my orange chalk marker to do his nose. I did a little thin strip of the buffalo plaid as a stripe for his hat, just with my glue stick again. And I also use a piece of jute twine to tie around his neck to make it look like a little scarf, and I hot glue that down with just a dab of hot glue. And then I will glue him to the center of that backing from that frame I covered with the buffalo print, buffalo check print. And then I did take a little tiny sprig of greenery left over from one of those picks, and then I grabbed a berry as well and glued it to his hat. Now I went back to the frame because I didn't want the frame white. I wanted it to look wood like the other pieces I had done, like those wood shadow box houses. So I just took the antique Waverly wax and did a coat of that over the white paint. And then I did distress it a little bit with a baby wipe. And put it all back together. And then I thought it needed a little bit something else, so I took another Dollar Tree DIY ornament, which was just this tiny little wood snowflake, and I painted it white. And then I felt like it was missing something after I dry it here, and then I take my silver paint marker and outline it all, thinking maybe that's enough, and I didn't like that, so then I end up coloring the whole thing silver, and then I end up dry brushing it with the paintbrush with the white paint, which you guys will see here in a second. And I think that turned a little better, just gave it a little bit more dimension. And there he is completed. For the next one, I used this, pumpkin blank I had from Dollar Tree during the Halloween season. I did cut out the jute cord and I put spackle in the holes that was there, let that dry, and then I went over the whole thing front and back with just one coat of the Waverly chalk paint and ink. I used 4 of the wooden planks you can get in a pack of 6 from Dollar Tree. Cut them down to size and faux stain them with the antique wax again and a baby wipe. And then I took the leftover piece I had of that buffalo check scrapbook paper and cut that into the shape of a tree. And then I used a like khaki color piece of scrapbook paper I had to cut into a tree, 2 trees in different shapes. And then I'll use a piece of the removable shiplap wallpaper from Dollar Tree to make 2 trees out of that as well. And they will all get stuck to the center of this with the scrapbook paper ones all get stuck to it with the glue stick, and then of course the wallpaper ones will get stuck to it with just the self-adhesive it has on the back of the sheet. And those wood planks, I did put 2 on the front, 1 on each end, and 2 on the back to just make it look more cohesive, and that way you wouldn't be able to see that pumpkin cut out either. And to cut out these trees, if you've noticed, I just fold the paper in half and draw the shape I want it to be on the one side, and then I follow that line on that fold. Sorry about that. And cut it out, and when you do that, it's kind of like cutting out a paper heart. It'll be, you'll see both sides. I did have to trim down these khaki colored ones a little bit because they were a little bit too wide. And then I went over all of this with Mod Podge just to seal in those pieces of paper, scrapbook paper, and to give this a little bit of shine to it when it dried. And then once all that dried, I did Mod Podge the front and back just so it had a cohesive look. And then once all that dried, I am going to embellish it with some ribbon I have from the Dollar Tree, which you guys will see here shortly. There's the ribbon I end up using. I just wanted to pull in some of the green like I had on the other pieces I made with their little sprigs of holly in that. So I just chose this ribbon with the green trees and white snowflakes. And there's that one complete. This one really isn't my favorite. Now I have other ideas now that I look back at it, but it is what it is. And for this last one, I took this buffalo check placemat from the Dollar Tree. I just ironed it flat, and then I took a piece of scrap drop cloth I have, ironed that flat as well, and I'm going to hot glue these 2 pieces together. I do cut down the drop cloth to size. I just left like maybe an inch around extra of that drop cloth, and then I hot glue it together, and then once it's all hot glued together except for one end, I'll flip it for the right side to be showing. I lint roller any lint pieces off of the buffalo check that I have. I iron it again. And then here's this little decal I had cut out with my Cricut Maker with a heat transfer vinyl that says chillin' with my gnomies, with a couple snowflakes and 3 different types of gnomes, all of which I put together with images I found on Cricut Design. However, this didn't come together, so I had to like piece it all together and use my own font and everything for that. And then once all this is adhered, I pull off the transfer tape that's on top that's already attached to heat transfer vinyl. And then I will stuff this with some pillow stuffing and then seal it closed with some hot glue. I apologize for the phone ringing and the beeping. Persistent people trying to get a hold of me. What can I say? I guess today I'm important. I don't know. There you see me sealing up that end of that throw pillow. And there it is all done. This, of course, is my favorite. But I did take this picture. It's like a really cute vignette. It honestly turned out like a really cute vignette, like a whole set. But let me know which one's your favorite. I love the pillow, and the house is the best, I think. All right, talk to you guys soon. Love y'all.